So I know it's been a while since I did a video like this because frankly I've been lazy, but then also I shot this video before and then I decided I didn't like it, so I deleted it and I told myself that I was going to shoot it again, and then university happened and so we're here now. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please press the subscribe button and like this video if you want to see more content like this. My name is RB. I'm an author and a poet, and on this channel we pursue everything to do with being the creative, poetry, art. We're here for it all, my guys. And in this video we're talking, like I said, we're talking about becoming an indie author and my journey and what you can expect if you're hoping to become an author as well. So I'm going to briefly go through the differences between traditional publishing and indie publishing and self-publishing, and then just kind of to get you, a basic summary if you're unsure about how to go about it, because I am meeting more and more young creatives, young writers that are hoping to kind of like break into the industry, but they're not sure exactly how they want to go about it. So we're gonna talk about that real quick. So I currently have one book on the market and we're now in the month of October. So my new book is gonna drop really soon. So I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Kind of stressed, but we're doing okay. So yeah, that book is coming out and it's another poetry collection. So we are very excited. So my first book was called Little Go Blue and it was an anthology of poetry that I put together. It's about 25 poems in the book, and I self-published that one through CreateSpace, which is now called Kindle Direct Publishing, which is one of the easiest ways that you can publish your book if you want to do it the indie author route. So indie author means independent author, which means that you are not directly tied to a publishing house, even though there are self-publishing houses as well, which we're going to talk about. But it just means that you own most of the rights of your book, if not actually all of the rights of your book, and you get to pretty much be part of every single process of publishing your book, from what goes in the book, who edits your book, who makes your cover, who gets to sell your book, even the marketing. You pretty much control and are in charge of all of that. Whereas with traditional publishing, you have a publishing house, you're going to be assigned I would say a consultant or an agent who will basically take your book and take it to the big people who will basically determine whether or not your book is worth publishing. And I'm saying it as if it's like the bad side of publishing, but it's really not all that bad. Traditional publishing has so many good benefits for anybody really, and I would say mostly more refined authors, because traditional publishers or traditional publishing houses are looking for a more specific type of writing, a more specific type of work. So they are much more picky about what they will let be published, or will let be printed rather, because they want to know if your work is publishable and whatever. They don't care what your story means to you. They don't give a fuck. So with traditional publishing, I remember when I started pursuing traditional publishing, I was way too young, but you were going to need to do a lot of your research on the different types of publishing houses and their offers, because they all have different type of packages that you can choose from depending on the genre and how big your book is and exactly how much work you're willing to do. A lot of traditional publishers will also have you maybe rewrite or add or subtract or take out things from your book, which is both a pro and a con, because they are kind of just shaping your book to make it more sellable, I guess. But if you are very sentimental about the things that you put down on paper, then that's going to hurt a whole lot, because you might not necessarily recognize your story at the end of the whole process. So that's something to think about. With traditional publishing, I remember I spoke to a number of consultants, which is 100% free kind of to do, because you just need to like send them a query and say, hey, I want to talk. Either you guys will do back-on-back conversations through email, or they will call you and you guys can talk and you can tell them about your book and what you hope to come of it, and they can tell you what they can offer you and what services they are willing to give to you. And then the biggest downfall of traditional publishing is that it is very, very, very expensive. So I remember when I started the publishing route, I think the quote that I got for one of my books was, I think it was like 30,000, but that's because that's in rands. So, and most publishing houses, they charge $3. So like in rands, it was about 30,000 rand to publish a book. And now when you're young and I'm a student and my parents at that time really didn't see the light in my writing. So you're thinking 30,000 can buy me a secondhand car in this country. Ain't no way my parents are gonna give me money like that to play with, you know? So that was one of the reasons that kind of made me look at self-publishing and kind of do more research on that and to see how much that would cost me. And really, when you're looking at when you're comparing the two, what you're gonna learn is that either one is gonna have you using money. It's just that some of it or the other one is going to use a little bit less money, because if you're going to go through the self-publishing route, there are self-publishing houses that can help you in the same way that traditional houses also help you, but they can like cut down your cost by like a lot. Most recently, I think about a couple months ago when I was querying for Little Go Blue, I got a quote of about, I think it was just below 10,000, which when you compare to traditional publishing is a whopping price. That's like, okay, like it's really, really good. But you know, it ranges also depending on how many pages are in your book, the printing cost for all of that, is there ink and all that stuff. That's all has to be taken into consideration when you're self-publishing or when they're giving you a quote for your book rather. But yeah, and also some self-publishing houses, and I'm not sure about traditional publishing, but self-publishing houses, some of them have sort of like a payment plan, so you don't have to like pay everything all at once. You can pay things in installments and have your book on shelves. Wow, okay. Have your book on the shelf as soon as possible while you're still kind of like paying it off. And if your book sells really, really well, the benefits of that is that the proceeds or your royalties from your book can basically pay for the book itself, which is amazing. So traditional publishing, in a nutshell, is basically you've written your book, you take your manuscript, you give it to your agent, you know, gets you linked up to all of these people who will edit and design a cover for you, and basically the whole process while you're, you know, chilling, maybe writing another book. Then when it's done, it's also great because traditional publishing houses take care of the marketing for you, and yeah, they basically get you into the good spaces where your book will get to your readers more quickly and more efficiently, and that's the great thing about traditional publishing. With self-publishing is great because you get to own 100% of your copyrights. The downside of self-publishing is you have a lot of work to do. So from editing to proofreading to cover design and distribution and marketing of your book, all of that is in your hands. Now, what you're going to have to pay attention to is you're going to have to get into the right spaces, which means you're going to have to get yourself some contacts, get yourself a distributor, get yourself a printing house, an editor. One of the biggest advices that I got when I was entering the publishing world was get another editor. You can read your book 5 million times, and I swear to you, you will miss some errors in there. So I would definitely advise getting another editor to read through your book. So that's pretty much where like the cost of self-publishing comes into play, because you might have to pay somebody to edit your book. For me, I have paid somebody to edit my book, but what I usually do is I usually get a friend to read over it first. So I go through rounds of editing myself, and then I give it to a friend to read through, and then if I feel the need, which there's always a need, but you know, if I feel the need, I will then pay a professional editor to just run through the work, and then, you know, it'll be great. The good thing about poetry is that, or rather the bad thing about poetry, is that there's not much to edit, because some of these errors and grammatical whatever is are done on purpose, because that's just the nature of poetry. It's just there to just break all your rules and give your English teacher a heart attack. But if you have somebody who kind of knows your writing style and you want somebody to correct some of like the little errors, like, you know, maybe a misused comma or hyphen, or, you know, you forgot to capitalize the word of or the name of a country or whatever it is, then those things, you know, like those things will be helpful. But like maybe in terms of wordplay and whatever, you just need to make a note that, okay, this was on purpose, so that they know what to take out and what to edit. Usually I don't have a lot of people directly editing my book, because I don't want them to change my poetry or change how I said something. So I usually have people just proofread them, and then they give me their thoughts, and then we move on from there. So right now we're going through the last round of proofreading for my upcoming book, and then also just like getting the cover done, which is taking longer than I expected, but yeah, we're doing okay. So with self-publishing, with marketing, one of the things that I've learned was, yeah, the internet is not your friend. You need to dominate that. There's no way around it. So like I said, with traditional publishing, that's taken care for you, but with self-publishing, you're going to have to do a lot of research about the spaces that will suit you. The good thing about the internet is that there's so many platforms. And one of the things that I did for myself was that before I even started publishing books, or even just started talking or referring to myself as a writer or an author, is that I sort of started a readership. So whichever platform suits you best, you know, suits you and your internet access, suits you and your time, and just your style of writing and reading, you need to just kind of like explore all of those and see how they suit you. And you're going to have to sort of, what you're doing is building a fan base. So if you want to start on Instagram, which is great, a lot of people start like that. I think one of our most famous poets right now, like Rupi Kaur and Opila Chisala, they all started on Instagram by sharing their work on Instagram. You know, you can make, I have an Instagram page where I do pretty much the same thing, where you take pieces of your poetry, you know, put down some quotes, and you post them just to get your people and your followers kind of used to be like, hey, I have this thing that I do sometimes, I write. And they follow up, and then what you can see is like, okay, so people are liking my stuff. If I was to put this into a book, people would definitely buy it. For me, I started my journey on, it was Writers Cafe, and I think it was writercafe.org. And then I then moved to Wattpad. I don't even remember why, but anyway, I did. Wattpad, I started as a reader, and I just really was looking for free books and things to read. And then I just randomly started sharing my poetry on there. And then I made a Facebook page where I did the same thing. But what I'm thankful for was, right, like with Wattpad, it's really, really, really interactive. So I got to leave a lot of my readers notes, and they would leave me comments, and like, you know, even like highlight certain things in my book, like, hey, you said this wrong, or this is spelled wrong. It got me into that sort of like gist of editing, and also understanding that when you write a longer piece, more errors happen, and as well as kind of just like finding my writing style and finding what I like to write about, and at the same time is what I write about that people would like to read about. So one of my most successful stories were obviously my short stories that were often about like love and tragedy, which a large majority of my poem is pretty much about that. It's very much about just sad stuff, but you know, we're evolving. Because I then also started entering competitions on Wattpad, and you know, submitting my poetry places, and really getting like a good feedback of like, oh, we like this story, or we like this poem, and you did well. I think I won maybe like 2 or 3 awards when I was younger. Well, not too young, but like when I was really, really active on these platforms, because they often host competitions. I've entered the Waddies a couple times. I considered entering this year, but I'm busy, so Yeah, but like doing things like that, entering competitions, going to smash poetry recitals, going through, what do they call them? I think they call them freestyling, whatever it is. Whenever they like host, it'll get you used to sharing your work and getting feedback, getting people to talk about or to talk to you about what they like about what you do. And it will get you to know whether or not you want to change something or suit something. It will also get you into the spaces of those who are just like you and those who are making the same money moves that you are. So in relation to building a readership, like I said, you have to take advantage of every single platform that's available to you online. So whether or not, for me, what works best for me is Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Facebook, not so much, but I do get a lot of like my viewers, even for this channel, from there, and just general support. The writing community on Twitter is the most, like, it's my favorite thing on the planet. But that one is more for writer support and not for readers. If you want to build a readership, it's not wise to assume that your readers are going to be other writers, because they're also trying to get readers and make a reader out of you. You understand what I'm saying? So I think Instagram is a great place as well to kind of like share your work and get to know people who are just who really like poetry and who really like your stories and what you're about. Starting a YouTube channel is one of those things as well, because people get to know you, the author. I have a blog, I have a couple other platforms that you can use to market yourself, to just sort of like show yourself for who you are as a person, and then as well just kind of like introduce people to your writing, and those who like to read will be all up in that stuff. So with self-publishing is great because there is, I said, a more affordable way to publish through that will get you more contacts, like example, a self-publishing house. Then there are other platforms like CreateSpace and Kindle Direct Publishing, where we're publishing our new book through Kindle Direct Publishing, just by the way. And Kobo and Books to Drive. I'll leave a lot of the links in the description about all those different types of platforms that you can use to publish a book for free. And then, yeah, so basically with those ones, they give you this platform where you can upload your manuscript. Please, for the love of God, if you're uploading to Amazon, please make sure that thing is edited to the max. Like edit and edit and edit again, because the amount of bad books that we see on Amazon is just, it's a lot. It's a lot. So anyway, I'm gonna use Amazon's KDP as an example, but basically the process is pretty much the same if you're publishing through any other, whether you're using Google Books or Kobo or Books to Drive. I personally have all my books on all of these platforms because maximization. But what you're gonna want to do is pay attention to your manuscript. So since you don't have a professional editor assigned to you, just like how you would have in a traditional publishing, you're going to have to find that editor yourself. You can find them on any social media. There's so many people who've done editing courses online or who are actually professional, like educated editors that offer their services to writers, and they will charge you a certain amount of dollars for a certain amount of words, and so you can choose to multiply that according to how big your book is, and you're good. Then you're gonna need somebody to design your book cover for you. If you're good in art and drawing, it'll be perfectly fine that you can do this for yourself, or just really have a great photo shoot where you take some pictures and use that. Unless your book is a self-help book, and even in this climate, even if it is, I recommend not putting your face on the front cover of your book, because nobody knows you. So meh, but unless you want to do that and you really have like a really, really great picture, I recommend, I think a lot of especially with self-help books, a lot of them that you see who have like people's face on it, it's usually somebody like Oprah. Like you're gonna see this book and you're like, I know her, so I'm gonna take this book. But if you're just somebody who's new in the market and I just see a random face on the book and the cover of your book, I'm not really gonna pick that up because I don't really know you. What will get me though is one of the next things I'm gonna talk about, which is the title of your book. You want to make sure that it's not a title that's overused, because if you have a book called Green Chair, for example, and some big time author has 5 books in a series called Green Chair, do you really think your book is gonna make it up there? It won't. So you're going to have to be very creative with your title. It's going to have to be something that kind of tells us a little bit what your book is about, but is also very catchy and easy to understand and all of that stuff as well. So that's title. And then you're going to want to be very careful about the length of your book. Too small is bad, too big is also bad. You want to make sure people are reading your book and that they're reading it in its entirety. They're also going to have to leave reviews, because that's how the internet works. The internet wants people to stay on the internet for as long as possible. So if they see that this particular type of content, be it a book or a video or whatever, a song, is keeping them on the internet for longer, is going to give people more of it. So you want to make sure that people are going to not only buy your book and put it in their libraries or their online libraries, but they are actually reading it and finishing it to like the end. And also that kind of shows the algorithms of the internet that if you were to release something else, people would buy it. I mean, as an author, you can't just publish a book and then say, okay, good riddance, this book is going to give me millions for the rest of my life and I'm sorted. You are going to need to keep the content coming. So before you publish your first book, you need to kind of like think about, is there going to be a sequel? Am I going to completely change the direction of my writing style or whatever it is? But you're going to have something coming up for your readers, because you can't like give your readers something beautiful like gold and then leave them hanging for the next 6 months to a year. Because what's going to happen is that if those are dedicated readers, when they finish your book in like 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 months, however long it takes them to read it, they're gonna want either more from you, and if they can't find more from you, they're gonna move on to the next writer. And if that writer has, you know, a whole like catalog for them to choose from, they might just stick from there. So you need to be careful about keeping your writers in the same place. So I think I've kind of just like spoken about most of the things that you need to be aware of. If I think about something else, either I'll post it on my blog or I'll make another video. And but that's pretty much the basic gist. What I would suggest is that if you are a young writer, I don't discourage you from publishing your work, but I think when I wanted to start, I was very, very young, but I'm very glad that I didn't, because I hadn't first like kind of like found my feet and became grounded in the type of like writer that I wanted to be and the type of writing style that I wanted to have. So I would say if you're a young writer, you need a lot of support from older writers, which is why I say the writing community is a great place to find your feet. But at the same time, I think take your time, you know, just like slow down and get to know yourself and know what type of writer you want to be, and if the story that you want to tell is like, you know, really, really important to you, so that you can kind of get refined on how you want to tell the story and how you want to put it out there. Because the amount of writers that have kind of just like rushed into the publishing process and then regretted some of their choices that I've come across when I was doing my research is amazing. It's insane. And the final point, which is low-key what I want to tell you at the beginning of this talk every time, is research. Part of watching this video is research. We're doing great, so you are on the right path. But you read and read and read. There's so many like articles and magazines and books and just like people in general that are talking about exactly how to go about this, who have done both. And I'm going to be one of them who have done both traditional and indie publishing. And then there are those who just do strictly indie publishing. Then there are those who do strictly traditional, and they have a lot to say about their journey. Everybody's journey is different, so you're going to really need to sort of like immerse yourself in information, like drown yourself in information. Find out about pricing, find out about you know, what type of book titles sell better. You know, you might even have to learn an internet algorithm so that your blog shows up on Google search and whatever. So there's a lot that goes into this. So if you're not quite ready to look at all the extra stuff, because a lot of people just think, oh, it's writing, and then you just like throw the book out there. But after the writing or around the writing or during the writing process, there's a lot that goes into that, and that just kind of like adds to the story but isn't really part of the story. So I would definitely say research some more. Even to this day, I am researching. After I like filmed this video, I'm going to go research some more. So it's just about learning, and you will never stop learning until you basically drop dead. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for joining us. I think this one is going to be a little bit long, but anyway, thank you for joining me and watching this video to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and like this video for more content like this. See you next time. Bye.